Am I the asshole for walking out of my friend's wedding? Okay, so, my friend has been planning her wedding for nearly 2 years and she wanted me to be a bridesmaid. Some things have gone down over the last couple of years. A lot of her friends drifted apart. Some wouldn't be able to attend for medical reasons and she fell out with a few. Out of the 9 bridesmaids she had originally planned, only me and 3 other girls were attending. Day of wedding was hectic. Bride got overwhelmed, so myself and the other 3 bridesmaids basically whipped everything into order while she calmed down. Her hairstylist had cancelled, so I reached out to a friend of mine and asked her if she could swing by last minute and help out. She did her hair and apparently the bride didn't like it. The bands she was using were coffee-colored, not white. She didn't have white. And the bobby pins didn't match her hair color and the ribbons weren't curled right. At one point, she said to my friend, "Are you an idiot?" and I'd heard enough. I understand that it was stressful, but there's no need to name-call someone who got all of their equipment last second and drove over 20 minutes to an event of someone they didn't even know, as a favor, not even paid work, though I did offer. I told bride she had to calm down and she couldn't speak to my friend that way, but instead she just ended up yelling at me as well. I told her we were all doing the best we could and she called me pathetic and said it was outrageous that I'd be lecturing her on the most important and stressful day of her life. She said she had half a mind to cut me as a bridesmaid, and so I told her I'd save her the trouble and left. The aftermath was insane. I had the other 3 bridesmaids calling me to tell me I was an asshole and was so selfish I couldn't put up with a little attitude for a few hours because she was stressed. Bride called me crying about how I betrayed her and how horrible of a friend I am. Bride's mother, who didn't previously have my phone number, called to tell me how disgusted she was at my attitude, and even my boyfriend says I could have sucked it up and it was a total asshole move to walk out like that. My stance was that high stress or not, I don't feel like she should have been calling my friend names and I don't think she should have called me pathetic. Stress isn't an excuse to talk down to someone in my opinion, especially people who are trying to help, but I could be wrong. So I guess, was she acting like the bridezilla I thought she was, or am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You're never an asshole for refusing to accept abuse. The way you go about that refusal can make you one, but in your case, all you did was remove yourself from the situation. You did nothing wrong. Not the asshole. Someone came last minute and helped her for free? And she had the audacity to act like that? Stress or not, that was unacceptable. I hope your friend left too. I am still digesting the fact that she started with 9 bridesmaids. Not the asshole, and there's a reason she started with 9 and ended with 3. Not the asshole. Yeah, I can see how this woman has lost a few friends in the past couple of years. Some brides think that just because this is their day, they can treat people like shish tea. That's bridezilla entitlement at its finest. You saved her butt and got this in return? I totally understand you left. Good riddance. Not the asshole, you don't deserve to be spoken at like that no matter what the circumstances. Your friend needs to remember what the day is actually supposed to be about, and it sounds like she needs to learn some mindful stress relief techniques. You did the right thing by standing up for your other friend and standing up for yourself. It's crazy how people will always have an excuse for being shitty. Alcohol, anger, stress. I don't care. What they are telling you is, whenever I'm in that situation you should accept that I'm shitty. Well, no you don't. I'm proud of you for standing up for your friend and put your foot down on that bridezilla and stop enabling her behavior. And worse of all are the other bridesmaids that called you to insult you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She threatened to fire you, so you quit first. If the bride wasn't prepared to lose you as a bridesmaid, she shouldn't have made that threat. Am I the asshole for not returning to my childcare job because the mother fired me over a mistake? I, 19M, had a job taking care of 2 kids, 2M, 3F, a dog, and doing light housework 4 days a week for a single mom who got my contact info from a business card I had posted in my dad's pediatric therapy office. Ever since the weather started getting warmer, the dog has been shedding like crazy. Like, I would vacuum the couch and the next day it would look like I hadn't. I would lightly tug on the dog's hair and would pull out huge tufts. The dog's been scratching all the time, etc. My dad's dog has a double coat like theirs, and one morning when I was leaving for work I packed his brushing tool in my bag. When the kids were napping, I spent a full hour outside brushing the dog. The dog seemed to enjoy being brushed, and after an hour there was a huge pile of hair that had been brushed out. Before I vacuumed it up, I sent the mom what I thought would be a funny text saying, "Brushed a whole new dog out of dog's coat." Looking back, I realized that maybe I should have asked first, but at the time it seemed like something that was within the scope of caring for the dog. The mom went ballistic. She called me yelling, saying that by brushing the dog and not letting the hair fall out on its own I was causing harm to the dog. She said I was an idiot and she can't believe she trusted me with her kids, and that today was my last day. I was extremely upset because I had been with the family for 3 months and she had never yelled at me like that before. I left as soon as she got home because she was still fuming. I immediately lined up a job with another family and am supposed to start Monday. The mom who yelled at me called me 2 days later saying that she was sorry about the misunderstanding, and that firing me was an overreaction. I told her I was no longer available and she started crying about how hard it was to find a new sitter for special needs kids. Her kids are autistic and have therapy at my dad's office. When I stood firm, she started texting my dad and asking him to do something. My dad is annoyed at being dragged into this, and while he respects my decision he wishes I would keep watching her kids for a short time to keep the peace. I hate that I put anyone in an awkward position, but I also don't want to work for someone like that. Am I the asshole? Edit because I don't want to have to keep clarifying. My dad is not an ABA therapist. He's a physical therapist. Not the asshole at all. Your dad is kind of lousy for putting this on you. He's a therapist and he can't see the instability of the mother and how it endangers you. I mean, if this is how she reacts to a completely normal thing to do with a dog, God forbid anything ever go wrong with one of the kids. You're an adult and accusations against you could lead to legal problems. Stay far away from her. Not the asshole. First, brushing a dog who is blowing their coat does not hurt the dog, and the fact she thinks it does is kind of disturbing. Second, even if she believes it hurts the dog, it's something that most dog owners do. So rather than simply telling you that she prefers not to have it done, she had a fit at a 19-year-old babysitter. This is not a person you want to continue working for. I wouldn't want to go back and have her accuse me of things based on other crazy beliefs. Not the asshole, she fired you and now you have a new job. It's weird that she's going to your father now. Not the asshole. What kind of idiot thinks it's harmful to brush an animal that is shedding heavily? The dog was probably relieved to be rid of that loose hair. Not the asshole. It wasn't a misunderstanding, she was abusive. Stand firm and don't go back, and shame on your dad for wanting to send you back for more to keep the peace. Don't reward her terrible behavior. Oh, and you didn't put anyone in an awkward position, her actions did. Not the asshole. This is an important lesson for this woman. You can't call your staff idiots and shout and then ask to take them back. Not the asshole. She lost a valuable employee over her reaction. Plus, really, she never brushed the coat of her dog? What is up with that? NTA brushing an animal doesn't hurt them. However, bigger than that is the way she talked to you. It was not okay and you did the right thing. You respected yourself enough not to let someone treat you like that. Good job. Am I the asshole for not answering the door to my neighbor because I was in a class? Thanks to the Big C, all my classes are online via Zoom. Luckily this semester I've managed to stack all of my lessons on Fridays. Attendance isn't 100% necessary but encouraged, and since we're only 3 weeks into the semester and I'm trying to wrap my head around new concepts, I've also clocked into some bonus lectures that are recorded, but helpful to sit in on live because it's extra engagement and I can ask questions. So basically, my Fridays are booked out from 9:05. 8 a.m. I took my dogs for a walk, said hi to the neighbor and had a chat about our plans for the day. 8:45 we said goodbye as I was going to make some breakfast and a cuppa before my tutorial. 1:45 during my tutorial there's banging on my front door. I ignore it. It continues for 5 minutes and gets louder. 2:28 I get a text from my neighbor to tell me she just got fired from work because she needed a babysitter, her regular cancelled last minute, and I didn't answer the door. She's a single mum and has minimal support. 6:30 I take the garbage out to the bins and she flies out of her house to screech at me for being selfish. This gains an audience from surrounding houses. Neighbor across the street is giving me dirty looks and comforts crying neighbor saying that I'm a selfish person. Said neighbor does not like me because of an incident 2 years ago where I would not let her borrow my unregistered and not safe to drive car when she was having an emergency of her own. I just retreated back into my house and 2 hours later I'm wondering if I should have just chilled on uni to answer the door or something. Good employees don't get fired for having a childcare emergency. Not the asshole. It only took 45 minutes for her to get fired because she couldn't get a sitter one time? Yeah, there's more to that story there. But regardless, you are in no way responsible for her or her child. I'm sure she's in a difficult situation, but that doesn't give her the right to dump her kid on you or make everything out to be your fault when things go wrong. Also, why didn't she ask any of her other neighbors? If they agree with her and think you're so selfish that you didn't take the kid in, surely they would have done it no problem, right? Not the asshole. What? No, not the asshole. What sort of entitlement does it take for your neighbor to assume that everybody around her will just drop what they're doing to help her? Honestly, you could have said you spent the whole day watching TV, or playing video games, and you still wouldn't be the Not the asshole. She didn't get fired because she had a childcare emergency, she got fired because she was irresponsible enough times that this childcare emergency was the straw that broke the camel's back. Living next to somebody doesn't require you to watch their kids. Not the asshole. You were at work. That it is called school and happens to take place at your home is irrelevant. Work is work. It does not include babysitter service for other people. It is also presumptuous from her to expect that you will drop everything to watch over her kiddo. Only one babysitter on call, no backup if said sitter has to cancel? I wonder why. Sounds like the neighbor across the street just volunteered to be the new emergency babysitter to me. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. How the fuck are you supposed to know her problems? Girl needs to get over herself. And that's your responsibility because? I don't get neighborhoods where everyone is all up in everyone's business asking to borrow cars and loan a casserole dish. I'm cordial with my neighbors, that's about it. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for leaving without my wife after she tried making my son eat food he didn't want? Our son, 10M, is a very picky eater. There are a few foods that he loves to eat such as pizza, chicken, steak, and pasta. He is working with someone that is helping him try new foods. My wife, 41F, wishes that he wasn't picky, but I, 42M, don't see any problems. There have been concerns in the past from family members that son was underweight. My son is at a good weight according to his doctor. We went to my in-laws' house for a St. Patrick's party. I brought a small dish of mac and cheese for son to have for dinner as he didn't want to have the corned beef. I noticed my wife and her mother looking at son and having a private conversation. When it was time for dinner, I put son's meal on his plate and my wife grabbed the plate. She threw the food into the trash and put some corned beef and cabbage on the plate. Son starts to get upset and pushes the plate away. I looked at wife and say, "Are you serious? He didn't want any of the corned beef, that is why I brought the mac and cheese." She looks back at me with a smile and says, "Well, he needs to try new things and he might like the corned beef." Son whispers to me that he felt sick and wanted to go home. I told wife that we were leaving and would see her at home. Her sister dropped her off at the house and she came storming inside, screaming at me that I am the one at fault for not wanting son to try new foods. We aren't speaking to one another right now and I have been receiving unpleasant texts from her family. And #X200B. Am I the asshole for leaving without my wife after she tried making my son eat food he didn't want? Not the asshole here. A family dinner like this isn't the time to try to therapize your kid's eating issue. From the sound of it, you made a minimal amount of fuss while still including your son in your family's activities. Your wife is the asshole here, without a doubt. What she's done will only make your son's issue harder to deal with, and she deserves shame and ridicule for it. I am on the spectrum. My mother tried to force me to eat by making sit at the table for hours. I hated her for it and still rarely eat with others 60 years later. Not the asshole. Your son is 10, not 4. Being a picky eater and seeing a professional at that age isn't enabling the behavior. It likely means something psychological is going on with the child. If your wife forces him to eat new thing he doesn't want, that will only make the situation worse and cause even more of an eating disorder than what it already happening. Should you have your son try new foods? Yes. But not force him when it's clear he already has something go on. Info. What does the professional who is helping your son say about this situation? What were their suggestions? Not the asshole. You are already working with a professional to get him trying new foods, your wife needs to back off. Not to mention corned beef has a strong flavor while cabbage has a strong odor, both of which can be off-putting to a picky eater. She picked one of the worst meals to try and make her stand with. Your wife picked the wrong time and place to show off to her family how tough, firm a parent she is. And for them to start texting shit to you is way the hell out of line. On a side note, corned beef is awesome. He may come around eventually. Grin. Not the asshole. I am 28 and have been a picky eater my entire life. Forcing food on me as a child was useless, caused drama and fights, and in no way made me want to try anything new. I also have a 5-year-old son who is a delayed eater. He's in therapy twice a week to work on his eating and catching up on trying foods. When he draws a hard line on something, we leave it, and sometimes come back to it in another session. I don't want him to resent something simply because he doesn't like that it was being forced upon him. Info. Is he a picky eater because you never made him try things, or does he have legitimate sensory issues? When you say, he is working with someone that is helping him try new foods, is there a reason why you, the parents, cannot do that?